Okay, join me on page 348 in your science textbook. What causes rain? As energy from the sun heats Earth, the water in oceans, lakes, and rivers, as well as groundwater, evaporates and turns into water vapor, a gas. Evaporation is the changing of a liquid into a gas. Humid air is less dense than drier air, and therefore it rises. As the air rises, its air pressure and temperature fall. Condensation occurs when a gas changes into a liquid. Water vapor in the air condenses into droplets, which then collide and form larger droplets. When the droplets become too large and heavy to stay in the air, they fall to Earth as precipitation. Precipitation includes all forms of water that fall to the ground. The type of precipitation is a result of changes in air pressure and temperature. Dew point. As the temperature falls, less water vapor can stay in the air. When the air cannot hold any more water, the relative humidity is 100%. Relative humidity measures the amount of water vapor in the air compared to the amount that will saturate the air. At the saturation point, the water vapor condenses into a liquid. The temperature at which this condensation occurs is called the dew point. When human air near the ground cools its dew point during the night, that condensation results in the water droplets, the dew, that can often be seen early in the morning on blades of grass. Okay, continuing on page 349, types of precipitation. Temperature differences in the atmosphere determine the type of precipitation that falls. The four main types of precipitation are rain, sleet, snow, and hail. All forms of precipitation begin as water droplets or as ice crystals in clouds. The temperature of the lower atmosphere that the precipitation passes through as it falls to Earth determines which form it will take. Okay, at the bottom, looking at the little chart, rain. Rain falls when the air temperatures are above freezing, meaning above 32 degrees. Sleet occurs when raindrops fall through freezing air near Earth's surface and turn into pellets of ice. Snow falls when water vapor passes through air that is so cold that the water vapor crystallizes and builds into snowflakes. Hail forms when thunderstorm winds push water back up into the atmosphere, where the water turns into ice, is coated with more water, and pushed up to freeze again. This process repeats until the hailstorm is heavy enough to fall. Okay, turning the page 350. How does wind change weather? More solar radiation reaches the equator than reaches regions north or south of the equator. The warmer air at the equator rises and moves toward the poles, creating air currents that move across the world. These currents are pushed to the west or east by Earth's rotation. For example, in Mexico and the Caribbean, the winds usually blow from the northeast to the southwest. These are called trade winds. In the United States, the wind usually comes from the west or the southwest. The Coriolis effect. The atmosphere around Earth moves constantly, with warm air rising and cold air falling. Winds, powered by temperature differences caused by solar radiation, blow from areas of higher pressure to areas of lower pressure. However, the winds do not move in straight lines. They are pushed to the right or the left by Earth's rotation. This shift in wind direction is called the Coriolis effect. Probably pronouncing that wrong, after the French scientist and engineer who described it. Okay, page 351. As the diagram on the previous page shows, the Coriolis effect causes winds that blow south from the North Pole to rotate to the right in northern latitudes but change direction near the equator in a clockwise direction. In the southern hemisphere, winds rotate to the left, or in a counterclockwise direction. The Coriolis effect is more powerful on stronger winds than on weaker ones, and more powerful on winds closer to the poles than on those closer to the equator. Sea and land breezes. And if you look at your screen really quickly, that's what I have a picture of, is a sea breeze and a land breeze. If you have ever been at the beach during a summer day, you may have noticed that the wind blows in from the ocean to the land. At night, the wind reverses and blows from the land to the ocean. What causes this change in the wind's direction? On a warm summer day, the sun's energy heats the land to a higher temperature than the nearby water. The warmer air above the surface of the land heats, expands, and rises. This creates an area of low pressure. Cooler, high-pressure air over the water moves in to replace the rising warm air above the land. This flow of air from water to land is called a sea breeze. At night, the reverse may take place. The land cools more quickly than the nearby water, so the cool, high-pressure air is above the land, and the warm, low-pressure air is above the water. Air always moves from an area of high pressure to an area of low pressure, and a land breeze develops as the wind blows from the land toward the water. Turning your page 352. How else does wind affect weather? Sometimes smaller currents of air spin off from the main currents of air that flow around Earth and rotate in the opposite direction from the main currents. These currents are called eddies. An eddy is a small spinning air current that often develops when wind flows over buildings, mountains, or other obstructions. Some eddies form on the downwind or sheltered side of a mountain or a building. The size of the eddy depends on how big the obstruction is and how quickly the wind is blowing. Cyclones. A cyclone is a huge mass of spinning air that forms when an area of low pressure is surrounded by high pressure on all sides. The high pressure air flows inward and is deflected to the left or right by the Coriolis effect. This effect means that in the northern hemisphere, the winds in a cyclone blow inward and counterclockwise. Because they are low-pressure systems, cyclones often bring thunderstorms, tornadoes, and other stormy weather. Under the right conditions, cyclones can turn into hurricanes. The powerful winds and heavy rains that accompany hurricanes can cause great destruction. An anticyclone is an area of high pressure that usually brings fair weather. All right, thanks again for listening, and continue on your science lesson.